Incident-packed race one, and the stories continue today. We are on air slightly later than we planned, and our apologies for that. But an incident in qualifying for the GT Open Series caused a lengthy red flag delay, and barriers had to be repaired. And so that's why we are about 25 minutes behind our schedule. But at one stage, it was looking like we'd be something like an hour late. So many thanks to the marshals here at Spa for getting us back on track. 34 cars entered this weekend. We have 33 of those 34 on the grid today. The non-starter, again, if you were with us yesterday on the final lap, you'll have seen Lilou Wadou. There you see car 44, the Peugeot, rolling into retirement in a very dramatic-looking accident. We're pleased to report that Lilou is fine. She was taken to the Circuit Medical Center, then to the hospital for a check, but she is fine, unlike the car. And so the car has been withdrawn, and so Lilou Wadou just a spectator for this second round here at Spa. Several drivers we didn't really get a chance to talk about yesterday in race one. And fingers crossed we'll have time to talk about them today. A few frustrating performances yesterday, a few incidents, and a few retirements to talk about. But we suspect that we'll have another busy 23-minute race to tell you all about. That's the man on pole position, Dušan Borković, who's had quite a subdued season so far by his standings. Been involved in a few incidents, could really do with a win here. So far this season, two of his target competition teammates have stood on the top step of the podium. Homola in race one at the Hungaroring, and then Josh Files 2 weeks ago at the Hockenheim round, race one. David Kajaya,
this is a
also a man to
Wirecast.
Score his first victory of the season, and judging by the social media fans and followers, the two most popular drivers in the series are on the front row for this sixth round of the series. Borković there on the left of your screen, Kajaya on the right. We'll talk about the man who's won race two in both Hockenheim and Hungaroring in a moment. But before the race weekend, we knew that the Audis and the Peugeots should be good here. Jimmy Clairet is on row two, starting from third on the grid, the older of the two Clairet brothers. And Jimmy, in fact, in the last 10 minutes or so, has just taken pole position in one of the support races, the Peugeot 308 Racing Cup. So he's getting plenty of track time this weekend. What can he do from the second row of the grid? Alongside Jimmy Clairet on row two is the winner of race one of the season, which is Natan Homola. There he is in the target competition Hyundai. And you see briefly behind Homola, we'll see him in a moment, on row three of the grid.
This is a demonstration
that chap I was
of
mentioning
Wirecast.
from France, who keeps winning race two of the series, using the reversed grid to great effect. As we keep saying, the Hyundais are quite heavy here, and so we do wonder if the Peugeots will be making a fairly rapid start off the start line. The grid is already being cleared. We are up against time a little bit because of getting back onto schedule. And that's the man I was talking about, Julien Briché, a rather battered-looking Peugeot after his major off in free practice 2 on Friday. Julien Briché, winner of race 2 in Hungary, winner of race 2 in Hockenheim. What can he do from third on the grid? Alongside Briché, Aurélien Comte in yet another Peugeot, so 3 Peugeots in the top 6. There is Aurélien Comte, quite frustrated to lose out on third place yesterday on the final lap, overtaken by Maxime Potty in the Volkswagen. A little tap between the pair, Comte complaining afterwards he didn't think that it was particularly fair, but Potty using his local knowledge and determined to finish on the podium. Ash Sutton, hugely frustrating for him yesterday, had a problem with the steering wheel on the start line. You'll remember he was pushed off the start into the pits and then started from there. An electrical problem meant that he couldn't actually use any of the controls on the steering wheel. So fingers crossed, a better start today for Ash Sutton, former BTCC champion. Confirmation though of the grid. Row 1, Borković and Kajaya, Jimmy Clairet and Natan Homola, row 2, Julien Briché and Aurélien Comte, row 3, Sutton and Maxime Potty, row 4, Urrutia, Santiago Urrutia and Gilles Magnus, our race winner. from yesterday on row 5. Row 6, Andreas, Bäckman, Teddy Clairet, Ollie Kangas and Tom Coronel, row 7. Gianni Morbidelli and Luca Enchler, row 8. Stian Paulsen and Dan Lloyd, row 9. Row 10 is Nelson Ponciatici and Dániel Nagy. Natan Bihel and John Filippi on row 11. Row 12 is Jessica Bäckman and Luca Filippi in the Hyundai. Tamas Tenka and Gavrilov from TCR Russia on row 13. Al Khalifi and Martin Rieber on row 14. Maribo Coppens and Lewis Kent from TCR UK on row 15. Vontaja and Davidovsky on row 16. Then right at the back of the grid, the man who dramatically had his car repaired in no short order yesterday, Josh Files, came here as championship leader. Big issue in qualifying, went off, virtually destroyed the car. The target competition guys rebuilt it, but there was a question mark over the engine. Files retired yesterday, not because of that engine problem I mentioned, but because of a puncture contact up at Les Combes. And so the team electing to change the engine in the Hyundai overnight just in case. To be honest, it only cost him one place on the grid because, of course, the engine change will drop you to the back of the grid. And so Files electing to go for that engine change and see what he can do from the back of the grid. He made up something like 12 places on the opening lap yesterday before the safety car came out. What can he do today? He really needs to get up into the points. And then next round in 5 weeks' time is at the Red Bull Ring, which is one of his favorite circuits. And so he should be able to strike back there. Spa this year and last, not a happy hunting ground for Josh Files. So then, around 25 minutes later than we'd planned, the cars set off on their green flag lap. Dušan Borković in the target competition Hyundai leads the cars round. There is our race winner from yesterday, Gilles Magnus, on home ground in the come-to-you Audi RS3. And it was a 1-2 for Audi, with Santiago Urrutia in the WRT Audi alongside him, and the team having 2 cars on the podium because Maxime Potti, there he is in the orange and grey Volkswagen, weaving to side, the number 88 car finishing 3rd, as I say, grabbing 3rd on the last lap by passing Aurélien Comte.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
You can see the heat haze there. It's a warmer day than yesterday. A stiff breeze blowing across Spa yesterday. But as ever, when you're at Spa, the rain is never far off. GT Open yesterday, their race ended behind the safety car and an absolute deluge. And I'm looking up out of the commentary box as I say this, looking towards where the weather is coming from, and there's a fair amount of cloud.
This is a
Fingers crossed it will stay dry for this race. 23 minutes plus 1 lap. And Josh Files, nothing to lose really from the back of the grid. Can he get up into the top 15, possibly even higher to score points? And will Target Competition take their 3rd race win of the year? Borković certainly has the ability, but does he have the car underneath him? Because everybody else has a lot lighter car. Kajaya, we know, is a potential race winner. He won in the Alfa Romeo in TCR International and is looking for a good result here. But the Peugeots are the, I suppose, relatively unknown here at Spa. We know that they've been quick all weekend so far. Clairet, Briché and Comte starting from 3rd, 5th and 6th. They, I suspect, will be the ones to watch at the start. There is Clairet, Homola, and then the black front end of the repaired Peugeot 308 of Julien Briché.
Demonstration of Wirecast.
The cars then making their way round up towards the chicane, just weaving to get the heat into the wheels and tyres. And we are probably a minute or 2 away from the start of this 6th round of TCR Europe. There is Tom Coronel, if you're a social media follower. Tom posting videos all weekend, and in fact his onboard lap If you've not yet seen it, a very good way of seeing Spa with Tom, always a character, talking you around the lap and even admitting to a few missed apexes. And if we're on the subject of social media, also give Stian Paulsen a follow. His video blogs are well worth it, very entertaining. Andriana Borković.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
Big smile as ever from her. The baby is also here this weekend, and Dušan, in fact, carrying little Sophia around the grid walk on Thursday night in a little harness. And so Sophia, only a matter of a few months old, has already done the grid walk here at Spa. So then, a few moments away, we're just waiting for the final few cars to come around the chicane. There we saw briefly Lewis Kent. There is Josh Files. And so we're moments away then, waiting for the green flag from the marshal at the back of the grid. 33 cars line up for this second race here at Spa-Francorchamps. All are in position. Lights are on, lights are off. We're looking for a good start from the Peugeots, but indeed it's Homola who slots his way through. And what has happened to Kajaya? Absolutely nowhere. A problem for David Kajaya from second on the grid, but immediately Clairet, Gilles Clairet is right up behind Dušan Borković as they thread their way through La Source for the first time.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
Bitter disappointment for David Kajaya fans watching from Georgia. What has happened to their hero? Through Eau Rouge and up Radillon for the first time. Martin Rieber takes to the runoff area, slots in behind the Sol Renault of John Philippi, as Gilles Clairet takes a good look around Dušan Borković. Homola now third. The two Peugeots of Julien Briché and Aurélien Comte side by side. A little nudge involving Dániel Nagy. And he just takes to the escape road at the first of the Lecombe trio. Oh, an incident involving one of the Mira cars, I think it is. And Dániel Nagy, I mentioned a few moments ago, having to cut the corner, and it is Dániel Nagy in the barriers in the Mira Hyundai.
Of Wirecast.
Yellow flags out then. Will we see a safety car deployed? And the safety car has been put on standby, we're told. So potentially a safety car here then. Hyundai leads Peugeot. Hyundai, Peugeot, Peugeot. Volkswagen, which is Sutton, ahead of Volkswagen Potty. The two teammates from WRT. Slightly different cars. Hopefully I'll get a chance to explain that in a moment. 6/10 the lead from by Borković over Gilles Clairet. Still no deployment of the safety car. Borković then, Clairet, Homola, Briché, Sutton, Potty, Comte, Urrutia, Magnus and Andreas Bäckman. That's your top 10. As Gilles Clairet flashes his lights as they come down towards the chicane for the first time.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
All safely through, just under 4/10 of a second. Borković leads Gilles Clairet. Then it's Homola, Briché, Sutton, Ash Sutton, former BTCC champion, up into 5th place as Tom Coronel gets a tap going through La Source. But recovers, heads down the hill towards Eau Rouge. And Gilles Clairet right with Dušan Borković, and Briché is right with Homola, battling for third. We've already got some scraps on our hands. Ash Sutton in the background. I did say I was going to mention the differences between the two Volkswagens. Ash Sutton using the common ECU, the electronic brain in the car, to continue the development work that's being done on that ECU, whereas Maxime Potty has the standard Volkswagen ECU. So Hyundai leads Peugeot, and Hyundai leads Peugeot. That's the two battles for the lead and for third place, as there's a little puff of smoke from Borković.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
Let's just take a look back at the start. On the right of your screen, you can see that Kajaya moved, and then ground to a halt and then started to move again. So what the issue is, I don't know, but that's hugely disappointing for David Kajaya. And there was also somebody who moved. Was that Aurélien Comte, I think, who moved on the grid? The stewards may well be looking at that.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
So from that angle, it did look as though Aurélien Comte jumped the start. And unsurprisingly, the incident involving Dániel Nagy is under investigation. As we look once again at Gilles Clairet, just taking a look at Dušan Borković. Now this is where Dániel Nagy went straight on. Now what happened to Nagy? Take a look at the back of your shot.
Wirecast.
And was it? Because it looked like the other Hyundai, that of Luca Filippi, that was in about the right place to have some kind of involvement in that incident. So Borković then, having stretched out his lead to just over a second over Gilles Clairet. In fact, the gap just under a second as I say that. Homola still third, Briché fourth, Sutton fifth, Potty sixth, Comte seventh, Andreas Bäckman now up to eighth, Santiago Urrutia ninth, and Gilles Magnus 10th. And in the remainder of the points positions, it's Teddy Clairet 11th, Tom Coronel 12th, Gianni Morbidelli in the West Coast, Volkswagen 13th. As Comte and Potty are scrapping for 6th place. Comte goes past Potty, and right behind him is Andreas Bäckman. So Aurélien Comte passes Maxime Potty. The battle in the background still going on. And the two fights for the podium position still very much going on. There is Ash Sutton, there is Comte. Bäckman now also past Potty. Oh, and a little touch between the pair as Briché goes through. Briché picks his moment, goes up the inside of Matto Homola, and so third place changes hands. Two Peugeots now in the top three. Can Briché repeat his victories in race 2 in Hungary and race 2 in Hockenheim as Urrutia clashes with Gilles Magnus? This is the scrap for 9th place. Urrutia just edging out Magnus. And a little tap between the pair as Julien Briché goes past Matto Homola into 3rd place. So Briché sets off in pursuit of Gilles Clairet. Borković, though, opening up a decent gap.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
So there's the battle at the bottom end of the top 10. Urrutia 9th, Magnus, in fact, as I say that, Magnus just passes Urrutia for 9th. Urrutia 10th, Teddy Clairet 11th, Coronel 12th, and we have a safety car. And so we have an interruption to this second race. Around 15.5 minutes of the race left. Borković must be wondering what he can do, because he's now got to manage the restart. Al-Khelaifi in the pits. It was Abdullah Ali Al-Khelaifi that caused that incident yesterday with Lilou Adou. There is an onboard video on social media, if you see it, that Khelaifi went off, came back on and collected Lilou Adou, who was pretty innocent in all of it, and rolling spectacularly into retirement. Debris on track, we're told.
Of Wirecast.
And the safety car will be taking the cars through the endurance pit lane. So that's the reason for the safety car while that debris is being cleared. Marshall's already on the case, and there is the safety car on the left of your screen, taking race leader Dušan Borković and the rest of the field down past the old pits here at Spa. Standing in those pits is actually quite eerie at times, with the memories and the ghosts of drivers, teams, cars of old going down the hill towards the flat-out left-right at Eau Rouge and up the hill at Radillon. And that is one of the M Racing cars of possibly Pontiac, just tucked behind the light gantry. Now, we said yesterday that Josh Files had made up something like 12 places on lap 1, having started 33rd. He's done it again. 12 places up so far. Josh Files 21st at the moment. Needs to get into the top 15 to get points. And in fact, it's not Pontiac, it's Bihel, his teammate. Natan Bihel is parked up, coming down the hill out of La Source, heading down towards Eau Rouge. And the medical car taking him round for a check over at the medical centre.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
Let's just recap then. There is Al-Khelaifi in the pit lane. He will be going no further. But 13 minutes gone of this race. Try that again. 10 minutes gone, 13 remaining of this race, plus the 1 lap. Dušan Borković, target competition Hyundai, car 62, leads by around 2 seconds over Jimmy Clairet.
This is a demonstration of
in the
Wirecast.
Clairet Sport Peugeot 308. Julien Briché, JSB competition Peugeot in 3rd. Matto Homola, target competition Hyundai 4th. Ash Sutton, WRT Volkswagen Golf in 5th. Andreas Bäckman, another target competition Hyundai 6th. Aurélien Comte, Peugeot 7th. Maxime Potti, Volkswagen 8th. Gilles Magnus, Audi 9th. Santiago Urrutia, Audi 10th. Teddy Clairet, Peugeot 11th. Tom Coronel, Honda 12th. Gianni Morbidelli, Volkswagen 13th. Dan Lloyd, Honda 14th. And Stian Paulsen in the Cupra is 15th. Now there you see that repeat of the start. And Aurélien Comte, to me, definitely moved before the lights went out. And David Kajaya, poor old David, having an appalling start. Some kind of technical problem in the Cupra, as once again we
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
just relive some of the moments from the first stage of this race. If you're just joining us, things are running a little later than we'd planned because of an interruption to the GT Open qualifying session earlier. We currently have a safety car period after Natan Bihel's Hyundai went off on the outside of the track coming out of La Source. There is the incident. And Bihel in the foreground being helped by the medical team.
Of
and will be taken around just for a check over while the car is recovered. On the timing screen, the message that the safety car will once again go through the pit lane while Bihel's car is recovered. The clock, though, continues to tick down. Let's talk a little more about Ash Sutton in 5th place currently. Ash Sutton, BTCC champion in 2017. Made an appearance in TCR Europe in Barcelona last year, finished on the podium in race 2. Is here pretty much as a one-off, but he does say that there's unfinished business in TCR Europe, but is helping Volkswagen with the development of this common ECU. And because of this safety car period, the Hyundai of Dániel Nagy can also be recovered.
And it's interesting that Ash Sutton,
currently 5th, and Maxime Potti, his teammate, in the Golf running the Volkswagen ECU, is currently 8th. So gathering useful data on that common ECU, which should be coming into play next year throughout the TCR world. As once again, and you can see there the debris being cleared up by the marshals, who, it has to be said, have done a brilliant job this weekend. There's been several incidents involving various TCR sessions and also some of the other support series, the GT Open, as I mentioned, having some fairly major barrier rebuilds over at Pouhon. after their incident in qualifying this morning. So down the hill they come through the endurance pit lane, which will give the marshals working space. And indeed, it looks like Bihel's car is already on the back of the transporter, just waiting to cross the track at Eau Rouge and through into the paddock to return the car to the team. And fingers crossed, Dániel Nagy's car will also be on its way back to the paddock very shortly. The field will be steadily streaming their way up the Kemmel Straight through Les Combes, and it's just coming out of Les Combes on the run down to Bruxelles, the right-hand downhill hairpin. That's where Dániel Nagy's car is stranded currently.
This is a demonstration
Here
of
they come then,
Wirecast.
into the right-hander at Les Combes. There is Sutton. The car, incidentally, we've seen before. It's been used as a Volkswagen test car, but that car was used by Rob Huff in TCR International in 2017 when he drove for WRT Leopard. As some wag pointed out yesterday, is it the car that was used for the season before Salzburg Ring or after?
Wirecast.
And if you saw Rob's big accident at the Salzburg Ring, you'll know that definitely isn't the car that was used in the first part of the season. The field then streams past Dániel Nagy's car being recovered. Fingers crossed we will be racing very shortly. Under 7.5 minutes plus a lap of this 23-minute race remaining. Dušan Borković leads from Jimmy Clairet, Julien Briché third. And Briché will be watching this restart very closely. He started from pole in race 2 in Hockenheim 2 weeks ago and took a lights to flag victory. But in race 1 at the Hungaroring, he did what he's doing this time, started further back, picked his way through the field and took the victory. Can he do it again here in Spa? The clock, however, is not on his side. It's continuing to tick down, although the safety car will be coming in this lap. So as they head down out of Blanchimont towards the chicane, the safety car's lights will be going off, and then it will be down to Dušan Borković to manage the restart, keeping one eye on his mirrors to see what Jimmy Clairet is doing. And Clairet, I dare say, will be doing the same about Julien Briché tucked in behind him. But we are moments away from race 2 here at Spa, restarting. Safety car will be coming in this lap.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
And there is Teddy Clairet, Tom Coronel. And indeed, safety car's lights are off. He's already heading off into the distance. And Dušan Borković putting some distance between himself and the safety car. And only he can decide when to bury the throttle and restart this race. Everybody bunching up, and it would appear that Borković is playing the waiting game, making sure that the safety car is well clear. Okay, here we go. Dušan Borković then takes the field through the chicane up towards the start-finish line to take the green flag. They're all bunched up nicely. Dušan Borković then gets this second race at Spa underway with a little over 5 minutes plus a lap remaining, and Clairet goes with him. Jimmy Clairet takes a little jinking look up the inside. Hard on the brakes around La Source. Borković, though, has the line. Clairet runs very, very wide. Has Briché sneaked past? He has. Second place then changing hands. Borković still leads, but it's now Julien Briché ahead of Jimmy Clairet. Fourth is Homola, fifth is Sutton, sixth is Bäckman, seventh is Comte. Through Eau Rouge and up the hill towards Radillon. Briché, one aim now to get past Dušan Borković to claim his third victory of the year. He has a little look coming down the Kemmel Straight.
This is a
and indeed powers past as Jimmy Clairet just takes a little look up the inside and taps Borković. Oh no, another problem for Borković. He's had all sorts of problems this year. He will be absolutely livid. And we'll need to take a look at that again, but Julien Briché leads from Jimmy Clairet. Matto Homola now third, Ash Sutton fourth, Aurélien Comte fifth, then Andreas Bäckman. Can Sutton get past the Hyundai of Matto Homola to record another podium finish? More importantly, can Julien Briché hold off Jimmy Clairet to take victory number 3 this year and send a very clear message? Now, look at Borković. And that was a tap from behind from Jimmy Clairet. And will the stewards be looking at that, I wonder? They were under braking as Borković spins off backwards at the right-hander at the start of Les Combes. And Adriana, the look says it all. More bad luck for Dušan Borković. So Briché then 0.8 of a second ahead of Jimmy Clairet. Borković in close attendance, Homola in close attendance. And Aurélien Comte looking at the back of Ash Sutton's Volkswagen. Briché pulling away.
This is a demonstration.
Track limits? What track limits? Aurélien Comte hard on the brakes now into the chicane. And right on the back of Ash Sutton's car. Andreas Bäckman also right up behind the pair. This drag down the start-finish straight to the right-hander at La Source. Sutton has the line. Just edges out Comte. There's Bäckman. There's Potty. And that's Dan Lloyd running wide in the 1-2-3 Honda. And indeed, confirmation on the timing screens that the incident involving Borković is under investigation. So Briché, Jimmy Clairet, Homola, Sutton, Comte, Bäckman, Potty, Clairet, Teddy Clairet that is, Gilles Magnus, Tom Coronel, Urrutia now out of the top 10 in 11th, Morbidelli 12th, Stian Paulsen up to 13th, Lloyd 14th. As we're looking at Aurélien Comte going around the outside of Ash Sutton, there's contact between the pair. Sutton, though, has the line. So Sutton comes back at him, they touch again, and Andreas Bäckman goes up the inside of the pair of them. Bäckman choosing his moment. So Andreas Bäckman, it would appear, would be up into 4th place. 6th to 4th in a couple of corners, while the contacts were going on between Comte and Sutton. And Borković, the unhappy Dušan Borković, back in the pits.
Demonstration of Wirecast.
Let's see where Josh Files is, 19th, so still 4 places to make up to get into the points. Just under a minute remaining of this race. And I suspect there will be 2 more laps. Briché, Clairet, Homola, Bäckman, Sutton, Comte, Potty, the other Clairet, and then Gilles Magnus, Tom Coronel, Urrutia.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
Just confirmation on the left of your screen that Bäckman went from 6th to 4th when they were up coming through Les Combes. And somebody's rear bumper. Was that Dan Lloyd? And look at this gap that Julien Briché is building over Jimmy Clairet. So we had an Audi 1-2 in race 1. A little bit of bumping and banging involving Stian Paulsen and Urrutia, I think it was. Paulsen 12th, Urrutia 11th. Potty, currently 7th, Teddy Clairet 8th, Gilles Magnus 9th. So then, for the penultimate time, they come down through Eau Rouge, up Radillon.
Of Wirecast.
Teddy Clairet just taking to the runoff area, comes back in alongside Gilles Magnus. So Briché, our race leader, on course now for win number 3, as once again Ash Sutton and Aurélien Comte. Oh, and that's Tom Coronel pushing Stian Paulsen across the grass, and Paulsen into the barrier, but lucky not to be collected by anybody else as they came back across the track. We'll need to see that again. And Coronel tucked up behind Maxime Potty, and that's Gilles Magnus being bumped out. So the closing stages of this race, things are getting physical. The stewards, I think, will have their work cut out after this race. Maxime Potty then, Tom Coronel, Urrutia, Clairet, Teddy Clairet,
this is a demonstration
and Lloyd,
of
Morbidelli
Wirecast.
and Luca Filippi are at the bottom end of the point scoring positions. Fastest lap in the race was set by Borković. Now this is the moment that, very lucky not to be involved in an accident, Stian Paulsen. He was a passenger coming across the grass, and luckily everybody avoided him. A fairly soft contact with the barrier, but unfortunately no points again for Paulsen, who's dropped down to 24th, 25th, and in fact he's out of the car. So retirement for Stian Paulsen, bitter disappointment for him. And Gilles Magnus also pulls up. Race 1 winner, and so no points for him as Julien Briché. And I was expecting one more lap. Possibly he was as well, judging by the fact that there was no light flashing and celebration. Now they start the final lap. My timing screen had the checkered flag come up, which I think is a mistake. Graphic on the screen I think is correct, which is this is the final lap. Julien Briché 1.7 seconds ahead of Jimmy Clairet. There's the battle for the final podium place with Homola and Andreas Bäckman. It's going to be a Hyundai, but which one? There's Sutton, there's Comte. And clear daylight between the pair as they come down the Kemmel Straight for the final time. There is our race leader. Incredible consistency from Julien Briché, on course to win the second race of a race weekend for the 3rd consecutive time this year, using the reverse grid to perfection. And there are the two WRT teammates, Maxime Potty and Santiago Urrutia, with Teddy Clairet just tucked up behind them. And this was Dan Lloyd just tapping Gianni Morbidelli.
This is a demonstration.
And Coronel also in the mix as they came through the chicane, with a couple of the cars taking to the escape road. And that is, again, Morbidelli in the 45 car. There's 46, that's Ollie Kangas in the other West Coast car, just as they head down the hill. And look at the damage to Coronel's car. And there have been a few incidents involving Tom Coronel, not least of which was that moment with Stian Paulsen. So Coronel dropping down the order, destined not to score any points in race 2 at Spa. So what does that mean for Files? Currently 17th, so frustratingly, Josh Files, despite that sterling effort to rebuild the car yesterday by the Target Competition team, Files, it looks as though, will not be scoring points. Let's keep an eye to see what he can do on this final lap. But Julien Briché, look at that advantage, 2.2 seconds, as Julien Briché comes around towards the chicane for the final time, and I think it's also too late for Andreas Bäckman to do anything about Matteo Homola. So this is how it'll finish as Ash Sutton takes a lunge up the inside. Julien Briché wins the race, his 3rd victory of the year from Jimmy Clairet. Matteo Homola finishes 3rd, and Clairet almost coasting. I'm wondering if there's a... No, indeed. He's just backed off. Jimmy Clairet, Homola 3rd, Bäckman 4th, Ash Sutton 5th, Aurélien Comte 6th, Santiago Urrutia 7th, Teddy Clairet 8th, Luca Engström 9th, Luca Filippi 10th, Ollie Kangas in 11th, ahead of Morbidelli 12th, Dan Lloyd 13th, Tamas Tenka 14th, Martin Rieber 15th, and frustratingly, Josh Files came here as championship leader, finishes 16th and so outside the points. Gavrilov 17th, Jessica Bäckman 18th, John Filippi 19th, Davidovski 20th, Maribo Coppens 21st, Stefan von Tarja in 22nd, Maxime Potti 23rd, Lewis Kent, we've not really mentioned him much, 24th, Tom Coronel. And that is the reason for Maxime Potti dropping down the order. We were watching the leaders come through, and Potti in the 88 car dropping all the way down to 23rd place. So, another incident-packed race here at Spa. After yesterday, we thought we'd be in for more of the same, and we weren't disappointed. Julien Briché, though, what a drive. That's the third time he's taken victory in the second race of the weekend. And I'm sure the extra track time in the 308 Racing Cup hasn't hindered him, let's put it that way, here at Spa. Big smiles, congratulations from the JSB team. And you have to remember that that's another team who's had to rebuild the car after Julien's accident in free practice 2. And this is the moment at the top of Radion that Tom Coronel, who again lucky to avoid a more serious collision as he came back out onto the track. And whether he was assisted into that spin or was that just something that happened as the car goes light at the top of Radion, we'll find out after the race. But, not a bad old race, was it? In terms of touring cars, that's just what we've come to expect. Lots of elbows out, lots of little contacts, and more than a fair share of dramas. Julien Briché then taking the victory from Jimmy Clairet. Hyundai's 3rd and 4th, Homola and Bäckman.
Demonstration of Wirecast.
And then, as I said, the remainder of the point scoring positions, Kangas Morbidelli, Lloyd, Tamas Tenka and Martin Rieber, getting a solitary point for finishing in 15th place. Retirements, Gilles Magnus, as we saw, Stian Paulsen, Dušan Borković, Nelson Ponciatici, and the other M Racing car of Natan Bihel, Al-Khelaifi we saw at the beginning in the pits, and Dániel Nagy, and of course right at the beginning of the race, our first retirement was David Kajaya. So let's head down to the pit lane where Alfredo Filippone is with our race winner.
Julien Briché, what a race, what a weekend difficult for you, but the end is perfect.
Oui, effectivement, pour nous, ça a été un week-end très compliqué, avec un gros crash vendredi aux essais libres 2, où j'ai eu la chance de pouvoir refaire la voiture avec une équipe de folie. On a tout refait pendant la nuit, ils ont été couchés à 6h30 du matin pour un réveil à 7h, c'était vraiment exceptionnel. Voilà, hier, j'ai eu malheureusement dans le choc, il y a un petit souci qu'on n'avait pas vu. Voilà, donc ça nous empêche de terminer la course. Donc là, c'est vraiment une belle récompense pour tout le monde. Voilà. Après, une petite pensée pour Lilou, là, qui a eu un gros crash aussi hier à la course 1. Voilà, elle est en pleine forme. Donc voilà, c'est le principal. Voilà. Et en ce qui concerne la course d'aujourd'hui, c'était une course très compliquée car je partais assez loin. Voilà. J'étais déçu du safety car parce que la remontée c'était parti. Donc, mais après le safety car, j'ai vu qu'on pouvait gagner la course. Donc voilà, j'ai tout donné pour. Voilà, week-end qui se termine plutôt bien.
Well done, bravo.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
Now, my French isn't what it should be, but I think we pretty much got the entire story of the weekend there. Okay, I think because of the shortened duration of the race, we are running out of time rapidly. That's the position then of the Drivers' Championship. Briché moves into the lead of the series as we leave Spa. 2 busy races, I think you'll agree, 2 incident-packed races, and the discussion, the comments, the criticisms probably will continue for the next few weeks. We're back in action in 5 weeks' time at the Red Bull Ring. We'll see you then.